Hey, what's up everyone? Mark Price here with devslopes.com, and in this video we are going to learn how to download Xcode so we can actually start building apps. This is the very first step, and you can't really build apps unless you have the tools to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Safari. You can do this with Google Chrome as well, but we're going to go with Safari, keep it the Apple way. And one thing I will let you know is some of the Apple tools and websites that they have don't work unless you use Safari. So whenever working with apple.com, you want to use Safari. And what we've just done is gone to developer.apple.com. If you don't have an account as a registered Apple developer, you need to sign up first. It's absolutely free. And you can do that by clicking account, and then you can register your account like so. Go through those steps. After you do have an account already, from developer.apple.com, all you need to do is click develop. And you're going to see a few things here: Xcode, Swift, documentations, videos, downloads, and they've done a really nice job in making development really easy. This did not used to be like this. It's much better now. Okay, so I highly encourage you to read the documentation, read these links. As a brand new developer, you want to read everything. You may be used to speed reading and going through things really fast. That's how I was. You can't do that anymore. Every single word matters, and you need to read everything. But in this case, we're going to download something. So let's go ahead and click Downloads. And after you've signed in, you're going to see a series of downloads here. And let's just talk about a few things. First things first is you're going to need Xcode 9 beta. Okay, this is going to require that you update to the latest Mac OS. Okay, now don't update to the beta, which is currently High Sierra. Okay, beta operating systems are very unstable. Okay, but you are going to need the latest Mac OS in order to download Xcode Beta 9. Now, why didn't we go to the App Store? Well, we could have. We could have, on our Mac, did Command Space and then type in App Store, and then we can search for Xcode, and you'll see there's Xcode right here. Well, the difference is the Xcode that's available on the App Store is always the latest release version, okay? Not the beta version. We're going to use the beta version because it gives us access to Swift 4 and iOS 11. Now, when iOS 11 and Swift 4 are officially released, you'll want to download it from here instead, okay? So if you're watching this video and Xcode 9 is available, okay, you're going to get it right here. If iOS 11 is out, come to the App Store and download it here. Otherwise, go to developer.apple.com, and we're going to download the beta. One more thing I want to talk about. When it comes to beta software, there can be bugs and there can be problems, but they're pretty close to the final result. So maybe you're asking, well, is it bad that I'm learning these new things that aren't even released? Well, no, you're kind of ahead of the game here, and it'll at least give you a chance to do some debugging and problem solving if you do run into code issues. And of course, we'll cover some of those problems and issues as updates and changes are made. So nothing to worry about here, but you're going to want to go ahead and download Xcode 9 beta. And again, I highly recommend that you do not install the latest Mac OS, High Sierra, or any beta version of Mac OS, because it could destroy your computer. It's very hard to install sometimes, as well as the iOS 11 beta or any beta software for iOS. Okay, they're very well known to break phones and cause lots of problems, and you can't install certain types of apps, and a lot of things will break. So if you have a test device and you really want to get the cutting edge beta version of iOS, you can do that, but don't do it on your main phone. Trust me now, okay? Trust me now. I promise you, you won't regret not installing this. And after you install it, you'll come back to me and you'll be like, you were right, Mark, But for those of you who don't believe me, just go ahead and install it, and then come back to me in about a week and tell me how miserable your life is. So go ahead and click download on Xcode 9 beta. And that is downloading now. Okay, now that it's downloaded, wherever you saved it, ours is saved in downloads. Okay, all we're going to do here, all right, is we're going to double click the Xcode 9 beta file. It's going to verify. It's going to take a while, and if your computer's a little bit slower, it'll take a great while. It's expanding. Again, it's still part of the process and may take a while. Okay, and Xcode beta has finished downloading. As you can see, it's here in my downloads folder, and all you have to do is take this icon that says Xcode beta and make sure it says beta on it. If it doesn't say beta, you've got the wrong thing, and it has a little red icon badge at the top left there. And all you need to do is take this and drag it into your applications folder. Now I've already done that, and so if we go into my applications, somewhere down here, we've got an Xcode beta. and you can see the difference. There's Xcode and Xcode Beta. They can run side by side without any problems. One more thing I do want to talk to you about: if you do have an existing Xcode project, let's say built with some version of Xcode 8, you may open it with Xcode Beta, and it could upgrade your files in your Swift to the newest version, and you may or may not want to do that, and it's hard to reverse that. So just be very careful opening existing projects in the new Xcode Beta if you don't want to migrate them and upgrade them. And one more really important thing: you will not be able to submit apps to the App Store with iOS 11 until it's officially released. So if you were thinking, oh, I'm going to make this cool iOS 11 app and submit it tomorrow, you got to wait. We got the early access here, so this is really cool, but you got to wait till it comes out, and then Apple will accept those apps. And so if you do have existing apps, you may want to start upgrading them to iOS 11 so they're ready on day one when iOS 11 comes out. But just a few things there. Xcode is officially installed, and to test it out, all you have to do is double-click the icon that is now in your Applications folder. And there you have it. It is loaded, and you are good to go. So we've done a few things in this video. We've gone to developer.apple.com. We talked about registering as an Apple developer. We also talked about what the difference between the Xcode on the App Store is versus what's on the developer.apple.com. We've also talked about how it's absolutely ridiculous for you to install iOS 11 or any iOS beta on your phone because it's probably going to break, and then you're not going to be able to use any of your apps and things like that. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Same with Mac OS High Sierra or any type of beta Mac OS. For an example, I tried installing it on one of our dev computers the other day, and it took 6 times to try and install it. It failed after all 6 times. My hard drive was completely wiped. And so again, be very careful with those, but you're pretty safe with Xcode Beta. So good to go. Let's go ahead and call this video done and then actually start moving on to writing code. You're going to build your very first iOS app. And so first things first, let's look at what we're going to be building here. This app is called Hustle Mode, and we're going to have an item here when you press a button, the power mode, it turns it on and this appears and the rocket's going to animate and some cool sound effect is going to play, and we're going to do this really fast, and you're going to learn how easy it is to make apps in iOS. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, go to your Xcode 9 beta or the App Store version if it is released at this point in time. I'm using the beta. And what we're going to do is click Create a New Xcode Project. Single View Application, and just go ahead and call this Hustle Mode, Hustle-Mode. And we'll leave the default settings here. Just make sure Swift is selected here, and you can unselect these items if they are selected. Click Next, and then you're going to find a folder for it, like so, and I'm going to click Create. And here we go. We're ready to get started on our app. Okay, so first thing, make sure that you have downloaded the assets for this project. And once they're downloaded, what I want you to do is click the Assets folder here and select all the files in the Assets folder that you have from this project except the .wav file. Unselect that. So hold down Shift, select all these, and just drag them here in the Assets folder, like so. Okay. There are more images here in the folder than appear over here, and that's because it sets at 2x and 3x high resolution versions inside of a single image in Xcode. You don't need to worry about that right now. Just drag them here in the Assets folder. And the .wav file, just drag here into the Hustle Mode project altogether. Make sure that Copy Items if needed is selected, and make sure Add to Target is selected as well. Perfect. So now we've got our code, and all we need to do now, or our assets, and all we need to do now is go into the main storyboard here, and we're going to build out some user interface elements. Remember, we're going to build out that blue screen, that Hustle Mode screen, okay? The first power button. Okay, so let's go ahead and at the bottom right here, in the object directory here, and we're going to type in the word image. And let's take this image view and drag it over here onto the screen. Image views allow you to have images on your screen. And once that's selected here, let's go ahead and find the dark blue BG. So on the right hand side over here in the image view, select dark blue BG. Okay, the next thing we need to do is have a button right in the middle. So let's type in the word button at the bottom right and drag it on. Now, again, for this lesson, just follow along. We will explain more throughout all the other lessons. This is the very first intro, so you'll be doing things that you don't quite understand, and that's okay. So this is a button here, and what we want to do is on the right-hand side, okay, make sure this middle icon is selected here, the Attributes Inspector, and take off the word button. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to set an image on this button. So what we're looking for is the power button, like so. And holding Shift, just drag it a little bit bigger, whatever size you think looks good. and drag it here on the middle of the screen, like so. Okay, so we've got this button here. And the idea is when you click this button, this stuff disappears, and then we show the cool clouds and the rocket and all that stuff, and then it animates up into the sky and plays a sound effect. So what we want to do is have another view on the top, like almost like a second screen that holds all those other elements. And so what I'm going to do is at the bottom right here, I'm going to type in UI view, like so. And you're going to see this view one. And what you're going to do is just drag it on here, like so. And you're going to put it right here. Okay, so here's your background, and this is what we're going to put all the elements on. Okay, and if you notice here in the assets folder, we've got, let's see here, we've got some different graphics, like a blue background, and we've got these cool clouds. This is like the full thing here. We're not going to use this image here. That's just more for mock-up purposes. But this is the one that has the clouds and stuff on it. So we're going to put the clouds and orange oval on top of this. But first things first is, you know, we don't even probably need to use an image for the background because we could just set the view to blue. So what I'm going to do is Command Space on a Mac and type in digital color meter. And what I'm going to do is hover over this blue. And this is 75, 119, 181. 75, 119, 181. Okay, so let's go back to the storyboard. And we're going to go to the background color. And we're going to select this here. And 75, 118, and 170. Oh, 171. Make it a little brighter. There we go. Not too shabby. Okay, so there's our nice blue background. You know, you don't need to use an image whenever you don't need to, because it'll be faster just setting the color here. And so what we're going to do now is add an image view to the screen. And I'm going to make it full screen, like so. And we're going to set this one to the clouds and orange oval. Oh, so pretty. But one thing that's happening is our image is stretching, and so we want to fix that. Let's go ahead and say aspect fill. And let's make it a little smaller. Like so. You know, just kind of eyeball it, make it look pretty. Because it's aspect fill, it won't stretch the image. It'll just look nice and pretty, which is exactly what we want. Okay? So this is cool. So the next thing is let's get our rocket. And our rocket is also an image. So just drag an image view on here. All right. And let's find the rocket. Rocket and stream. Now again, this is stretching again. So we want to set this to aspect fit or aspect fill. So let's try aspect fill. I kind of like that. And what we'll do is we'll just make it go on the screen here. And what I'm going to do is it's in front of the clouds. We don't want it in front of the clouds. So on the left-hand side here, just drag it behind the clouds and orange oval. Like so. And with this selected, go ahead and double click it and just use the arrow key to go down. And we're just kind of visualizing what it will look like if the rocket's moving. You see how it's coming behind the clouds? Yay, it's so pretty. So cool. Very good. So we want to hit in that first, okay? And so what we've done so far is we've created a UI view. We've set the background on it to blue, and the same blue that the image was. We just decided not to use an image just to show you that you can set a background color. And then what we've done is we've created a cloud and orange oval image. We set that to the bottom here. We set it to aspect fill so it looks nice. And then we put the rocket, but we put it behind it so it looks like it's coming up from beneath the clouds. And we set aspect fill on that as well too. Okay, the next thing is let's go ahead and add a label here. So we're going to type in the label. And if you remember, it says hustle mode on. So this label, we're going to say hustle mode. And it's a little bit, you know, messed up. So let's go ahead and make it bigger. And we're going to center it. So with the label selected, click the center button to center the text. And we want it to be white, of course, because that's what it calls for. So clicking our little color selector here, we can select white. All right. And instead of system, I want to do system like bold. So click the little T button up here on the label and go to system. And then instead of regular, do bold. There we go. And let's make it a lot bigger. So hustle mode. And just kind of eyeball it where you want it. Like here in the center looks good. And what I'm going to do is Command D to copy this label and make a new one. I'll make this even bigger. And instead of hustle mode, this one's going to say on. So double click it and change it to the word on. And then we're going to increase this font size as well too. Just click that up button until it gets to the size that you like. Hustle mode on. And we can make it a little smaller now since we know how big it is. And this is looking good. So hustle mode is on. Okay, so all of our user interface elements are complete. So that's great. So now we can actually go into the code. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this button here in the middle called the Assistant Editor. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to create some IB outlets. We're going to connect the user interface to the code. So real quick, I'm going to close the left-hand side so I have some more screen space, and I did that by clicking these buttons up here. You can expand and retract the different panels here. And this is cool. So first things first is I'm going to clean up some code here, get rid of this did receive memory warning. We don't need to worry about that just yet. And then I'm going to make a few spaces here in the view controller. Make sure this says view controller. And then what we're going to do is this dark blue background. Okay, I'm going to control drag, holding the control button. I'm going to drag it over here and make sure this says outlet. And we're going to say dark blue BG, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this button here. Okay, and we're going to call this power button, like so. And then this view right here, the one that holds all these cool clouds and stuff, we're going to make an outlet for. And let's call this the cloud holder. Okay, it's holding the clouds and all the other views. Okay, there's the cloud holder. And then what we want to do is let's go ahead and grab this rocket and stream. So we'll just control drag the rocket and stream. And let's just call this the rocket. Get rid of that empty space there. So the rocket, and we don't need to grab the orange oval, but we do need the labels here. And I'll tell you why in a second. So I'm going to control drag from the hustle mode label, drag it here, and we're going to call this hustle LBL for label. And then again, control drag from the on button, like so, and we're going to call this on label. And again, all we're doing is connecting user interface elements to the code so we can do things with them. Okay, this is core iOS development features, which you'll be using every day as an iOS developer. Okay, so what do we want to have happen? Well, when that power button is selected, okay, what we want to do is have all these things become visible and have the power buttons become invisible. Okay, no big deal. It's fairly simple actually. So all we need to do is create a function here that's going to allow us to receive an action when an event happens. And how do you do that? Is you go to your dark blue, your power button here on the left-hand side, control drag over into your code, and instead of outlet, change it to an action. Okay, and we're going to call this power button pressed, and just press enter. And so you have a function here that will be called whenever that button is pressed. And so what we want to do is we want to show the cloud holder and we want to hide the other background elements. So let's go ahead and say we want to say cloud holder dot is hidden equals false. Okay. And what we also want to do is we want to say the dark blue BG dot is hidden equals true. We want to hide that, and we want to hide the power button, right? So power button dot is hidden equals true, like so. And let's just do a little more cleanup in the interface builder for now. So let's close the assistant editor by clicking these little lines here, the standard editor. Okay. And what I want to do is by default, the cloud holder is hidden. So let's open up the right-hand side here. And I also want these hustle mode labels to be is hidden. So select the hustle mode label and the on label and go ahead and select hidden. So scroll down here and select hidden on those. So those will be hidden by default. And then the cloud holder itself will be hidden by default, like so. Okay, because we don't want those showing at first. And make sure that the cloud holder is above the dark blue background and power button, so it appears on top of it. It doesn't matter too much, but at least for visual sake, that's how we want it here. And that's all looking good. So when we press the power button, this screen will appear, and the old one will hide. So that's looking great. So let's go straight to our code now. Open up the left-hand side, go to the view controller, and we're going to write some code. So again, what we want to have happen is when that power button's pressed, we want the rocket to shoot up into the sky and play a really cool sound effect. And we want to turn on the hustle mode. We're ready to take this iOS 11 course and work our butts off so, we can do great and amazing things. So first things first is in order to play audio, we're going to need to import a framework that allows us to play audio. So type in import at the top here, AV Foundation. That'll allow us to play some music or some sounds. In our case, just a single sound. And then what we're going to do is below the IB outlets here, we're going to type in var player, create a variable called player, AV audio player, and put an exclamation point at the end. This is called an implicitly unwrapped optional, but you don't need to worry about that right now. You'll learn that later. Okay, and what we're going to do here is in the view did load. Okay, this is a function that is the starting point of your code when the screen first loads, and so this is where you can initialize things. And what we're going to do is we're going to find this file, this WAV file here in our documents directory, and then we're going to load it into the player. Okay, so we're going to create a constant here called let path equals bundle.main.path, and it's going to say for resource, like so. We're going to say hustle-on, that's the name of the file, of type, and that's going to be WAV, like so. Save it there. So bundle.main.path and then for resource. And so what we're doing here is we're grabbing the file, okay? And it's yelling at us with a yellow warning because we're not using this yet. And now what we're going to do is create a URL. iOS works with URLs for its like local file system. So same as it might grab a URL from the internet. And this is going to say file, well, actually you can see it right here. If I do the parentheses, file URL with path. And we're just going to pass in the path that we just created here. So the path was a string, and now we're converting it to a URL. And again, you don't have to understand all this just yet. You'll learn all about this later. And we're going to say do. We're going to try and load our player. And since this could possibly fail, we're going to do a do and catch statement here. Player equals try AV audio player, contents of URL. And we're going to pass in the URL. And then we're going to say player dot prepare to play. Let's get it ready to play. And if this URL was wrong and didn't work, we could get an error. So we're just going to catch the error. Okay. We're just catching the error here, and we're just going to print it in case there was some type of problem. Again, you don't need to worry about all of this. The important thing to understand is that we're grabbing the file here and we're loading it into the player. And because it can fail, we have this do catch statement that'll catch errors and problems. Again, you'll learn all about this later on. So let's just keep moving on and forward here. This is just the very first lesson. So when the power button's pressed, we're gonna show the cloud holder, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hide the blue background, the dark blue background, and the power button. And now we want to animate the rocket up into the clouds. Okay. So to make an animation in iOS, we can use a simple UI view.animation, and we want to do the one right here with animations and a completion handler. So with duration, let's set 2.3 seconds and press tab to go to animations, and then press enter. Delete the thing that says code, and then press tab again and press enter, and type in finished here in the parentheses. It's a Boolean, and we're going to get rid of this code right here. So it auto-populated all this stuff for us, and if it didn't work or you pressed the wrong key, just copy it like I have it here, exactly. And so what's going to happen is we're going to say, hey, we want to animate this rocket to a certain position over 2.3 seconds. So we're going to say self.rocket, okay, .frame equals cgrect. And where do we want it to go? Well, we're going to set an X position, a Y position, and a width and a height. So the X is from left to right, and the Y is up and down. Again, you don't have to completely understand all this just now. Just follow along, and you'll learn all about frames and bounds and positions and all this crazy stuff later on. So we want it to be at 0x, and for the Y position, let's position it like 20 points from the top. We won't make it go all the way to the top. And the width, let's go look at the width. So click the main storyboard. Okay, click your rocket, and then click the ruler over here. And so the width is 375, and the height is 402. So what we're going to do is we're going to say width is going to be 375, and height is 402. And so what we're saying is over 2.3 seconds, let's move the rocket to this position, and we're just keeping the same height and the height and width on this, okay? And then when it's finished, what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and show the labels and stuff, okay? For the hustle mode on. So self.hustleLabel.isHidden, not highlighted, is hidden, equals false. And then self.onLabel.isHidden equals false. Okay. And then the last thing we want to do is actually just get our cool sound effect to play. And all you need to do is to type in player.play above this UIView.animate. Okay. So we've done a lot here, and it may be a lot to take in, but it's not so bad. So what we've done is in iOS, you can drag interface elements to your code like so, and that's using the @IBOutlet. So all we've done is we've said, hey, we're making a connection between user interface and code so your code can manipulate them. So we've grabbed the buttons and the holder and the rockets and all those things that we created. Then we created a player that will actually play music. We've went and got the path for the file, the sound file, the wave file here, and we've loaded it into the player, contents of URL into the player, and when we're preparing the audio player to actually play, okay? And then when the power button's pressed on the main screen, we're going to hide the power button, we're going to hide the dark blue background, and we're going to show the clouds and the rocket and all that on the screen. And then we're going to play the sound effect, and while the sound effect's playing, we're going to move the rocket up over 2.3 seconds high into the sky, and then when that's done, we're going to show the hustle labels on. So if this all worked out as expected, we haven't run our code at all, then it'll look great. So I'm going to change this to an iPhone 7, okay, and then we're going to run it and see what happens. Here's our simulator. It's open, and if it's too large or too small, you can hold down Command plus 1 or 2 or 3, and it will change the size of the simulator for you. Okay, our screen is loaded, and so if we click this button, hopefully it all works out. Let's go ahead and try. That's pretty cool, actually. We have a problem, though. We have a bug, right? So our rocket ship is too high in the sky. So we have to debug what happened here. Okay, this is called debugging. When you have a problem and you need to solve it. So what happened here? Well, it's a little bit too high. So all we need to do is probably make its position a little bit lower from the top. So Y at 0 is here at the top. And so 20 down is not enough. We probably need to make it like 100 from the top. So let's give that a shot. On the Y, type in 100 and save it. And then let's run it again. Here we go. Click it. Hustle mode on. It's still not quite enough. I'm going to say 140. We're just making it look perfect here. There we go. So congratulations, you built your very first iOS app, and you've actually done a lot. Okay, what did we do here in 20 minutes? So you built your first app in 20 minutes. That's pretty fantastic, and that's with me talking. If you were a pro at iOS development, you could have built this probably in 5 minutes. So what we've done here is we created interface elements on the screen, IB outlets, so you could reference the controls and hide them and show them. And then we created an IB action right here that basically receives events when you press a button. And we did that from the power button, okay? And then what we also did was we made it so when the IB action's pressed, we hide the old elements on the screen and we show the new ones. And then we play an animation of the rocket going up into the sky and a sound effect all at the same time. And when it gets to the top, we show these labels here. And we did our very own animation, which is really cool. Really, really cool stuff. So just for fun, let's play this one more time. And then you can give yourself a pat on the back and call yourself an official iOS developer. Boom. So congratulations. You're an iOS developer in training at least, and there's so much more to learn. So let's go ahead and get started moving forward. Show this to your friends and family, and this is really cool stuff. So Mark Price here at devslopes.com, moving on and forward.